Hello everybody, and welcome to the video notes for Unit 4, Day 12. Today we're going to be working with writing multiplication expressions. Today's video is dedicated to Camilla in 6B. Hi Camilla. So let's start by first thinking about what are all the ways that we can write an expression for A times B. Well, we know that there's A and then the X as a multiplication symbol, A times B. That's one way. And we also learned that we can write A and then a little dot like that as the multiplication symbol. That also means A times B. And we can also do A, B right next to each other like that. Anytime you see two variables right next to each other, that means that those two variables are being multiplied. So this also means A times B. And the last way that I want to show you is you can write it as A and then in parentheses B. If you have something in parentheses and then something right outside it, it means that what's outside the parentheses times what's inside the parentheses. So this would also mean A times B. So now that I've showed you these four different ways, I would like for you to pause and really quickly on your own try this right here. What are the ways that you can write the expression for 6 times y? Give that a shot. Now you're resuming the video to check your work. We have 6 times y, 6 times y with the dot like this. And in general with variables, we want to avoid using this because this might look like 6xy instead of 6 times y. So try not to use this one and instead try these three on the right. You can say 6y just like that. That's the same thing as 6 times y, or you might even see it as 6 and then in parentheses y. That also means 6 times y. Now on the right here, I want you to also again, nice and big, write 6y. And we're going to talk a little bit about some math vocabulary here. On the right, draw an arrow pointing to this y. It's a letter used to replace a number, which we know as a variable. So the y is the variable. Go ahead and label that. And then I want you to underline this 6. And then draw an arrow like this. When you have a number next to a variable, and that's the number that's being multiplied with the variable, that number is called the coefficient. And the way we write coefficient is C-O-E-F-F-I-C-I-E-N-T. The number that's being multiplied with the variable is called the coefficient. So label that as the coefficient. Okay. Now let's look at this first set of problems we have here. It's asking us to write each expression using the fewest number of symbols and characters. Okay, this is pretty straightforward. 6 times b, right now there are 3 symbols. We can write that with fewer symbols if we just write 6b. 6b is the same as 6 times b, but we got rid of the multiplication symbol and it means the same thing. I'll do one more as an example. Here we have 4 times 3 times h. 4 times 3, we can combine that and get rid of the multiplication symbol, and that would be 12. And then it would be 12 times h, and we can get rid of that second multiplication symbol and just do 12h, because that's the same thing as 12h, but now we have fewer symbols. This is what we're calling consolidated form. Okay, so now you're going to pause, try these three on your own, C, D, and E, and check back in when you're finished. Okay, now you're resuming the video to check your work. Let's see how we did. All of these 2's, we can consolidate that. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Right? That's the same thing as 2 to the third power. So 2 times 2 times 2 is 8 times A. So that would be 8A times B. We can consolidate all of that as 8AB. If you got that right, 2 gold stars for you. Here we have a 5 here. And then another number that we can multiply that 5 with is this 3. So those two can combine. 5 times 3 is 15. And then the variable here, m, 15 times m, we can write as 15m. And we'll have 15 times p, which we can just write as 15mp. That's the same thing as 15 times m times p. If you got that right, 3 gold stars for you. This last one, we have 1 times g times w. Now you might think to write, okay, well that means we have 1 g w. That's 1 times g times w. Anytime you're working with variables and it's times 1, you can actually just get rid of the 1 and just write this as g w. Because that's the same thing as 1 times g times w, which is just g times w. That one was a little tricky, so if you got that one right, you get a mushroom. Let's check our next set of problems. It's asking us to rewrite each expression by expanding it and using the dot multiplication symbol. So the way that we do that is, if we have 5g, 5 is the coefficient, g is the variable. Since that's the same thing as 5 times g, we'll just write 5, and then the multiplication symbol, g. 7abc, that's the same thing as 7 times a times b times c. These next three, I think you can definitely do on your own. So let's do a quick pause and try those three on your own. Okay, let's check your work. 12 times g, that's the same thing as 12 times g. 3h, that's the same thing as 3 times h, and then times 8. 7g, that's the same thing as 7 times g, times 9 times h. You got all those three right, 3 gold stars for you. And now we're moving on to our last set of problems. For k, it says find the product of 4f times 7g. Remember, product is what you get when you multiply two things together. Product is what we get when we multiply. So we're multiplying 4f times 7g. This means altogether we have a 4 times f times 7 times g. And when we're multiplying all of these things together, the first thing that we can do is just look for the numbers first. I have a number 4 here and a number 7 here. Those two numbers can be combined and multiplied together. So 4 times 7 is 28. So this would be 28. And then I look for my variables. I have a variable f here and a variable g here. That means it's 28 times f, which is 28f, times g, which I can just put the variable right there. So 28fg is what I get when I multiply 4f times 7g. Now that I've showed you that example, I want you to try L and M on your own. And now you're resuming the video to check your work. Let's see how we did. 3 times d times e times 9 times y times z. First thing we do is just look for the numbers. We have a number 3 here and a number 9 there. We can combine those by doing 3 times 9. And then we can multiply all the variables together. So we'd have a d times e, and then a y over here, times y times z, all this together. 3 times 9 is 27, so we'd have 27, and then all the variables, we can just list it, which will mean multiplying together. 27 d, e, y, z. That's the same thing as these two terms multiplied together. Okay. And your secret word today is, I haven't even thought about it. Let's make it R-E-D, red. Secret word is red, R-E-D. And this very last one, I'm not going to give it to you because I want to see what you can do on your own. So when I check for your secret word, I'm also going to see, did you try this one on your own? And I'm going to check your work.